Well, hello and good evening, everybody. I'm not going to lie. We have nothing scripted. We have nothing written down. We do not know what we're going to be discussing in the next 20, 30, 40, whatever it is, minutes. I just decided that YouTube was looking pretty quiet tonight, and I thought, let's jump on and have a wee discussion about everything and anything Rangers. So hello and welcome along to those of you who have tuned in last minute. If you have any questions, any thoughts, any comments, please do get them in, and it might help us a wee bit. So joining me very, very last minute is Wolf. Wolf, how are you?
I'm fine, Martin. Yeah, very last minute indeed, but it sees me sitting through the what is it, Ross County St Mirren that she's just about to watch. So yeah, you saved me from the pain of that. So,
and I also felt as if I hadn't been on in a while. So I thought, let's just jump on. And I'm delighted to say the most handsome bald man in the world has joined us tonight. Stuart, how are you?
Wow. Well, that's quite the intro. You actually saved me from... You're helping my waistline, Martin, because I was literally just about to go and have a giant piece of Malteser cake, and your message came through and stuff like that. So whether I go back to that once we finish depends on how long this takes. So let's see if people can keep us online for long enough to stop me doing it.
Well, Martin, I'm going to start calling you Michael Beale, because you've just contradicted yourself 2 minutes inside 2 minutes, because you've just called Stuart the most handsome baldy man in the world, and you've just called Philip Clement, who's also a baldy guy, absolutely perfect. You can't have it both ways.
He's perfect. Yes, okay, that's absolutely fair enough. No, I agree. I agree. That's a 2 week
Clement wins. Clement wins that.
Clement does win. You're the second most handsome bald man.
I'm glad you realise that, Stuart.
Those Clement will get a tiny bit. No, he doesn't. How big's that cake, Stuart? Because what they asked Dave, 15 minutes away for you? We could share some cake.
No, sorry. The doors are locked. Right, it's done. No chance.
That big royal blue door is locked. Damn it.
You see, Martin, if you send
your mother along the road, by the way, don't you be sending your mother along the road. No,
if you send your wife out now, by the time we finish this, she's back with your cake. There you go.
That's true.
I'll phone my mom who'll go and jab his door. He can't say no.
I know.
Listen, the conversation's getting difficult here. Let's move on to some Rangers topics, shall we? And something I was going to bring up right away anyway, but Jordy's straight in. Evening, guys. What's everyone's thoughts on Butland possibly getting called back up to the England squad? Stuart, is this a surprise, even though it shouldn't be a surprise? But the fact that obviously Butland's been involved with England in the past, he's a brilliant goalkeeper. Obviously, we're going to be biased, and I'm going to say, look, if you gave me the choice of Butland over Pickford, over whoever else is in line, Nick Pope, I don't know who else is in line for that England goalkeeping jersey. But I'm picking Butland every day of the week. But the fact that he's playing in Scotland, and I would like to know the last player in Scotland who got an England cap, might have been Gaza, I don't know. But the fact he's playing in Scotland, does that make it more surprising than perhaps it should that he possibly could get an England call-up?
To some it might, because it is Scotland. And I'm saying by some, I probably maybe some down south might react to that. But I think the key point is what you've just said there. You know, you mentioned Pickford, who I think is Southgate's number one, and we might question that, but I think that is. Once you go by that, though, who are you looking at? Yeah, Nick Pope, but he's injured. Hasn't played in a long time. You've then got Johnson and Henderson, and both of them are at the same club. So only one of them can play. So there is a gap there that Southgate is going to have to fill. And when you look around, you know, why wouldn't Jack Butland be in the conversation? You know, he's there are games where he does and stuff like that, where he didn't have to do anything at all. But there are other times where he's then called into action and his form has been sensational, some of the saves he's made. So I think it might raise a few eyebrows down to the snobs down south because of the league we play in. But you know, this has been kind of building, hasn't it? I think the goalkeeping coach for England had kind of talked about the fact that he's been watched and stuff like that. So I don't think it's a huge surprise that his name has now been mentioned, that there's a real possibility that he'll get in the squad. And at the end of the day, you know, given what's said about the choices that Southgate's got, why wouldn't you have him in the squad for these friendlies to have a look at him properly, and see what he's like? It makes absolute sense. So delighted for him. I think his form absolutely deserves it. I'm sure it has been something that's been burning inside him to get back into that squad. So yeah, absolutely delighted for him, and I think it's well deserved.
I mean, it can only be a good thing for us as well, Wolf. I mean, look, it's friendlies, so you can get called up, I think, from memory. And a guy was telling me in work today as well, I think Alan Thompson, when Celtic were doing well in Europe all the years ago, I think he got one call up for England, didn't he? I think he got one cap. So look, it's friendly, so we can take from that what you will. But if we can show Jack Butland that, look, if you stay here and you're successful here, you do well in the league, you do well in Europe, then you can get a call up to England. Could that help us in the long run if, say, a mid-table or kind of 7th or 8th place Premier League team comes in for him?
Yeah, but not just with Jack Butland. I mean, yeah, you make the point is valid. That maybe keeps Butland at Rangers. I think the way he's talking, he likes it here anyway, so he is going to stay for a period of time. As we said last night, we don't know how long a period of time is, but I mean, yeah, I think you will. He'll stay about anyway. But if you can get England recognition, all the better. But going forward for us, it's a great selling point to go to not even just English players, but players from wherever who are maybe, well, Rangers, massive club, get European football regularly, but they play in Scotland. I won't get an international call up. Rangers will be able to say, look, Jack Butland got a call up for England. England are trying to win tournaments, and they're calling up a goalkeeper. You know what I mean? So you could go to a young Frenchman or a young Spaniard or a young Dane or whatever who's obviously got international aspirations and say, look, coming here isn't necessarily going to hinder you getting picked for your national team. I mean, it's all very well saying, you know, we've got internationalists from, like, say, you know, Colombia and wherever else, but to attract young talented players from the bigger countries, if you like, the more fancied national sides, it would be great for us to be able to say, look what can actually be achieved. It doesn't matter that you're playing in Scotland, because a lot of it's down to how we got on in Europe. Because, as Stuart said, you know, England have got a problem with goalkeepers because they've only got really Pickford who's playing regularly of what they've got available. So I think that Jack Butland will get called up for these friendlies in March, particularly if he does well in the next 2 European games. I mean, if he's outstanding against Benfica over these 2 legs in the next couple of weeks, I think it's absolutely nailed on that not only will he be in the squad, but he'll get some game time as well.
If that happens, Stuart, if he gets game time and he gets called into, say, a competitive England game, if we put our forward-thinking hats on, is that also adding value? If a team from down south does want to come in from, is that adding significant value on you?
100%. Why wouldn't it be? And I'm pretty sure that would be part of any negotiation that Rangers, or any price that Rangers set for any team sniffing about. I'll be amazed if, you know, there aren't some serious bids for Jack Butland in the summer, and there'll be a lot of things that we'll need to take into consideration. One will be a price that Rangers then set and say, yes, we accept that, you can speak to Jack Butland. Obviously, Jack Butland himself then needs to make a decision. You know, is that the right thing for him? You know, he talked in that interview he's just done recently that, you know, that supposedly it was Nottingham Forest. Both him and his agent kind of dismissed it in a matter of seconds, as if, you know, that's not something the club had already dismissed it, but they weren't interested. He's clearly loving it here, but, you know, he'll have dreams and things that he wants to achieve as well. You know, so if it was a bigger club down south that came in, then potentially we'll go. But it can only stand us in good stead. We've got him on a decent length contract. If he's then back in the international scene, then that works in our favour to say, well, actually, this is the starting point for our negotiations with you. And if you're not there, then sorry, the answer is no.
I was stuck on mute there. Yeah, I tend to agree. There's been hundreds of questions that have come in, by the way. We've probably got enough for about a 2-hour show here, but please do keep them coming in. And if I see one that I prefer, then I will most certainly bring it up. I've got one question that I do want to bring up because I've got some thoughts on it. But if one of you two want to jump in first, feel free. Peaceful Warrior. So we can ask anything. Whatever happened to Rick Astley? Right. I quite like Rick Astley.
Did he not just do Glastonbury?
And he just done Glastonbury, and he done the New Year
Glasgow.
as well.
He was in Glasgow last night. Was it last night?
I'm sure he's doing a tour, right?
Supported by Belinda Carlisle. I'm sure it's either last night. It's this week certainly. It's either last night or tomorrow night. He's definitely not happy tomorrow night because Niall Horan is playing Glasgow tomorrow night, so it must have been last night. The only reason I know Niall Horan is doing it, Demi's going. That's why I know that he's playing there tomorrow. So yeah, Rick Astley's just played Glasgow, supported by the very talented former Go-Go Belinda Carlisle.
And I will repeat myself. His new stuff's quite good. All right, you had that Never Going to Give You Up thing back in the 80s or whatever. But see if you actually listen to the new stuff that he's brought out. Plus, he's a very, very talented drummer. So I will hear nothing against Rick Astley. This is turned into a proper Stuart old school random rabble.
But to give Peaceful Warrior some credit, that question doesn't necessarily mean he was having a go at Rick Astley there.
I mean, no, I would just hate it if somebody was, because I think he's a very talented, he's a very good singer.
You're just putting that out there, just giving people a warning now.
Some people a quick warning, because according to some people in the comments, I'm a bully. So I mean,
I'm never going to give him up.
I'm never going to give him up either, and I'm never going to let him down. I'm never going to run around, and I'm certainly never going to desert him. That's getting cut up in it. That's getting put somewhere online in it. That's absolutely horrendous. But no, genuinely, 100%. Go and check out some of Rick Astley's new stuff. It's actually pretty good. And this is a Rangers podcast, I know, but I will not hear the same. I will not hear anything said against Sibo. I will most certainly not hear anything said against Rick Astley.
The Rangers Rabble podcast sponsored by Rick Astley. You know,
if Rick Astley wants to sponsor this podcast, because Rick Astley's a multi-millionaire, then he can feel free to sponsor this podcast. Absolutely. And we do have a question for Davy Jacks. Well, if I'll go to you with this one. What impact does Sima have when he is fit? I know this was discussed the other night about, see, I think it was a caller, I think, brought this up when Sima comes back in. Obviously, you get Cortez playing really well. Ross McCausland's come in and done a job. But does Sima just have that something, that X factor that we'll need when he comes back?
Well, the way we're currently playing, Sima's going to struggle to get back into the team. He can't just walk. He can't.
Do you think so? Do you think he'll struggle to get back in the team?
Unless I think you'll bring him back in gradually, because that's what Philip Clement does. I don't think he's got no need to say, right, we're bringing you in here, playing 90 minutes, because he's very good at saying, you'll see him like he did with Roof at the weekend. He's available, but he can't do 90 minutes. You'll see him for a little bit. So he'll probably only bring Sima back in maybe for 20 minutes his first game back. And unless he's absolutely setting the place on fire in a good way, I don't mean being an arsonist, I mean in a good way, then I think he'll struggle to get back in the team. I really will, on a regular basis. But that's got to be a good thing, because it means it's more. It's down to the squad depth and the fight between each other for places. It's got to be a good thing.
I mean, I think obviously because he's been out for so long, Stuart, as soon as he's fit, he's obviously not going to be fully match fit. He's not going to maybe start. He's certainly not going to play 90 minutes. But I think once he's up, just my own personal opinion, once he's up to full match sharpness, once he's fully fit, I think Sima comes straight back into the team. And as much as the manager already rotates, I should say.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. I'm not sure about straight back in, but I think he then gives you that other option that for the manager to do what he's currently doing and rotating. So whether that's rotating for Cortez, whether that's to add another dimension to a number 9, so actually he rotates with Dessers, which then allows Silva to rotate with Cantwell, or it gives more options in that area. So yeah, I'm not convinced he'll go straight back in, because I think it probably will take a bit of time to build up, but he'll certainly get game time, undoubtedly about that. And I think his ability to play in a number of positions across the front line stands him in real good stead.
And some of the Rick Astley comments, are absolutely brilliant. Aldo Martin, have you and Wolf swapped Wi-Fi providers? Wolf's has been the best connection out of all three. How times have changed. My internet signal is dipping, and I can see that. And I've actually got new internet from a different provider getting installed, and I think about 14 days or something like that. So I've got a brand new internet provider which has promised me faster internet. So hopefully that solves all the problems. Any final points on SEMA before I move on? Normally, Wolf has got a statement he would like.
Can't wait to have him back.
I mean, that is the point in terms of that, Wolf. Already, we're looking at this team and we're seeing the amount of options that we have, not only with the manager rotating, but in terms of being able to bring players off the bench. Probably the strongest the squad's ever been. And if you add SEMA back into that, if you add Kmart Roof back into that, I mean, that's some squad we've got.
I wouldn't say it's the strongest it's ever been, but certainly the strongest it's been in a long, long, long time. I mean,
that's what I meant. Well, don't be pedantic.
I know that's what you meant. But if you want a statement before we go off SEMA will score the goal that wins us the title. There's a prediction for you.
Well, on that, right? And I seen the question and I forgot to start it, and it's really, really annoying me. I'll do that thing where I'm kind of what do you call it? Padding. I'm padding the conversation until I can't find the comment. I apologise, but it was along the lines of, well, if we win tomorrow night, do you see us winning the next 9 games in a row to be able to go on and win the league? Just before you answer, for me, and this is just my own opinion, and you know me, I'm one of the most pessimistic supporters. I'm just a really pessimistic person in life. That's why people don't like being around me for too long. But for me, Wolf, if we win tomorrow night, we win the league.
Don't like the word if. It's when we win tomorrow night. And I agree that when we win tomorrow night, we win the league. But I don't think we'll win every league game from here to the end of the season. We'll drop points somewhere along the line because the law of averages says that you're going to drop something. I'm not saying we're going to get beat. We might draw a game here or there, but I said 2 weeks ago that if we can get to the split ahead of our nearest rivals, I expect the first game after the split to be them at Ibrox. Sorry, them at their place, because we'll play them at Ibrox before the split. We beat them at Ibrox before the split, so that puts us 5 points clear. We then get them at their place, don't lose, that wins us a title. So I don't think we'll win every game from here on in, because we will drop. It may well be drop points at their place first game after the split. But if we can get to the first game after the split, which I would expect to be in the East End, given how close it is, 4 or 5 points clear, then that's it. The title's done.
I'm on mute. It's just one of those ones, Stuart. For me, it's not a case of, well, if we win tomorrow, we're going to win every game. We may still drop points. We might lose the next Old Firm game. We might win the next Old Firm game. I don't know. It's just for me personally, that thing in my brain goes, if we win tomorrow night, which is right at this moment, and I'm including Celtic in this, probably the hardest away game in the league, apart from us. Kilmarnock away on that pitch, the way they're playing, the way Derek McInnes has got them. It's just in my brain, if we come through that unscathed and we look good, I don't see us losing more points than them. That's basically my point.
Well, so your last sentence there is kind of where I am. The 2 games that we had in hand were important for me because it got us back onto that kind of level playing field. And then obviously their result and us winning at St Johnstone giving us that advantage. The way I look at this is really simple. Is between now and the end of the season, if we pick up the same amount of points of them or we get slightly more points of them, we win the title. So how that's made up, winning every game, if there's a draw in there, if there's a loss in there, that's all that I'm focusing on, is the bare minimum between now and the last game of the season, we get the exact same number of points as them. However you make that up, that's the way I'm looking at it. I think there's clear signs that it's likely that they will drop more points during the run-in. I think Will's right. it's probably likely that somewhere along the line we might do it as well. I think it is a big ask to go 11 games, including tomorrow night, to win all of them. Not impossible, but it's a big ask. So I tend to just look at it, minimum match them point for point between now and the end of the season, and we're the champions. And that's how I tend to look at it. So the 2 games in hand that we had were the key ones for me, and then we take it from there.
I've been watching a lot of football documentaries lately, and I've been watching a few documentaries on football podcasts, more so down south, more so the English ones. Is they're the bigger ones, they're the ones that get hundreds of thousands of views and stuff like that. And what I tend to find with people watching them and people that go in the comments of them is when somebody on a podcast says something, people who don't agree they don't just not agree, they then take offense to what that person has said. Right now, let me make this very clear. It's just my own feeling. It's just the way that I feel right now. If we win the league tomorrow, then I think we'll go on and we'll win the league. The reason for me saying that, and by the way, I could be completely wrong. We could spank Kilmarnock 6-0 tomorrow. And then with how quickly football changes, we could be 4 or 5 weeks down the line and they could be ahead of us and they could go on and win the league. That could obviously happen. But for the very first time, I sat down with my stepson, who's a Celtic supporter, and I watched the Celtic Motherwell game with him. First time I've watched a full Celtic game this season. And Celtic were rotten. They were jank. And I heard this about the second half, about how Celtic came into it better in the second half. Motherwell were rotten, right? Motherwell are not a great side. And even in the second half, Celtic didn't look that great. Scored a couple of good goals, but didn't look that great. So I'm looking at that Celtic from that one game, and I'm saying to myself, well, they'll go away to Hearts, they'll go away to even an Aberdeen, they'll go away to Kilmarnock, and they will drop points if they play like that. And I just don't see them being able to pick up the form from what they had last season and be able to play good enough to go to difficult places and pick up points. Hence why I'm just trying to explain my thought process here. Hence why I'm saying if we win tomorrow at a very difficult away game, for me, that gives us enough confidence to go win the league. That's my theory behind it. And I could be wrong because I'm not the Messiah. Just a very naughty boy.
Just because you look a bit like him with the beard, and he could do with the hair and a bit longer and some holes in your hand.
I hope people got the Monty Python reference there, by the way.
So
I did.
No, I didn't, because I never watched Monty Python. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, they will drop points because they're not a good side. I don't particularly watch them. I've seen bits and bobs of highlights here and there, but from what people say about them, they're not a good side. But as I said last night, I don't really expect them to drop points when we expect them to drop points. I mean, I think they'll struggle at Tynecastle on Sunday, but they'll probably beat Hearts. He checks his girlfriend's not standing at the door listening before she throws something at me. They'll probably struggle more tomorrow night against Dundee because they've got more of a crowd on their back. I think their players seem to struggle when they're getting loads and loads of grief from their own supporters. At Tynecastle, they'll have 600 fans in there, whereas there'll be 45,000 or whatever they manage to muster tomorrow night. So if things aren't going well for them, they'll start getting on their back. That's when they're more likely to drop points, because I don't think they can handle criticism from a vast number of people at the same time in a full football stadium. So that's why some of their home results haven't been particularly great, And they struggled at Motherwell on Sunday when there was what was the 3,500 in that away end. So there's quite a lot of their own supporters again giving them a bit of stick because it wasn't going particularly well. That's the sort of games I expect them to drop points in. But they will. I mean, people have been saying it in the comments. They will drop points. They'll probably drop more points than us going along the way. But we can't bank on that. We just need to keep winning games of football, looking at it a game at a time. Well, I mean, one game at a time, just keep winning. Tomorrow out the way, then get Saturday out the way, see what happens in Lisbon, and just take it all from there. And
I can't believe, Wolf, that you've never seen Monty Python.
Honestly, I've never watched it, never seen it. That doesn't appeal to me at all.
Doesn't appeal? It's one of the greatest British comedy shows of all time.
But you know my problem. British comedy show. You know my problem, Martin. It's the same with films and TV programs and comedy. See something that's ridiculously not real, that like there's no way that what's happening can happen. I just can't get behind that. I can't watch.
Which is exactly what Monty Python's about.
Exactly. I can't watch like science fiction or stuff like that, because that can't happen. Stuff like, for example, I don't know if you ever watched Gangs of London, right? I watched half an hour of the first episode of Gangs of London. There's a guy in a cellar getting stabbed and slashed and all sorts of things. He still had the strength to fight as the aggressor off. That cannot happen. I had to turn it off. But that just won't happen. It's not realistic enough.
You can't be that literal, Wolf. You can't be that literal.
Honestly, I am.
100%. He clearly is.
I am 100%. I know, but that's just me. That's just that.
But that's what they were doing in Life of Brian, though, Wolf. That's what. Oh, thank you very much. That's what Life of Brian was. It was mocking.
I hope that's a chocolate cake you've got there, is it?
It's never good when you. My missus just said it's never good when you come into a live podcast and they're talking about Life of Brian. Yeah, that's probably a fair point. I should probably
that better not be Malteser cake, by.
No, do you know what it is? Do I know what it is? Which she just gave me. It's flake ice cream, Cadbury flake ice cream. No. I don't know how. I don't know why she's gave me it here. It's not as if I can sit here and eat it. But yeah, okay. So we'll jump on to we'll discuss the game tomorrow. We might as well while we're here. And the manager's press conference, which, will we just be honest, guys? Not one of us has yet watched because we're all not logging in from work. But again, I made the point, Stuart, that I feel if we go on and win tomorrow, we go on and we win the league. And saying that, I say if we win tomorrow, because I can't go full optimist. It's just not me as a person. And tomorrow is a game that maybe should or maybe shouldn't worry me.
I'll say what I always say, and folk joining tomorrow for pre-match will probably hear me say it again. Look, as fans, I think we make more of these games than we should. So, it's the same if we go to Tynecastle and we go to Pittodrie. We build this up as fans. I think in the past, the players have potentially built them up to be more. Yes, we're going to Kilmarnock midweek. Probably the weather will be crap. It's on a dodgy pitch. All of those things. The Rangers are better players than Kilmarnock. And if we play to anywhere near our standard, we should beat them. And that's not to be disrespectful. McInnes is doing a great job there. He's got them well organised. They've got some good players in their team, but we should have more than enough to take care of Kilmarnock if we go there with the right attitude and play to our capabilities. Where we now I can build on me saying that is the fact that we're now seeing a team and a manager deliver results against these teams on a regular basis, and making what are perceived as tricky games fairly standard practice. From what I have read about the manager's press conference, he's giving the exact same messages that he's given in pretty much all of his press conferences. Yes, the pitch is what it is, but we've got to deal with it. In the same way that is there an argument to say that the pitch tomorrow night will be better than the pitch that we had at St Johnstone? Because that was an absolute shit show of a pitch. So, it will bring its own challenges, but you have a confidence in this Rangers team and in this manager that they'll rise to those challenges and deal with it. But I do believe, again, we're still a wee bit where we make too much. It's Kilmarnock, it's a midweek, it's an artificial pitch. We should be beating them. Simple as that. We've got better players.
We should.
Martin, sorry, we made a big thing. Made a big thing at the weekend about it's Hearts. Hearts are the form team.
It's different. No, it's away from home on a poor pitch against a good.
It's different, but if you let me finish, right? We haven't, apart from the last time at Ibrox when we scored 2 late goals, and once we equalised, we were always going to beat them. Right? Although there was still only 4 minutes of stoppage time left, we're always going to beat them, right? We play well, I would say, 80 or 90% of the time against Hearts. We've got Hearts' number all the time, right? Because we know it's a big game and the team's up for it, right? Kilmarnock, I think the only reason we struggle against them, as somebody pointed out in the comments, they've caused us more bother since we came back to the Premiership than any other team out with that lot across the city. It's because of that pitch. The players have got it in their head previously that that pitch is a nightmare, because we've struggled at Livingston because the pitch is a nightmare. I don't think the current manager will let them get that into their head. You'll just say, look, it's another surface. As Stuart says, it'll be better than St Johnstone's was. He went into that game with a team to play on the surface that he knew he had. He said, he said at the start, look, we know we can't play our normal game, so we'll have to adapt our game for the surface. He'll do exactly the same tomorrow. And I think we are building up to be something that really isn't, because Kilmarnock are playing well. I think they've only lost 3 times at home this season. But as Stuart rightly says, we've got much better players than Kilmarnock. So as long as we play football and the manager sets the team out knowing the kind of pitch he's got, because he will. It seems to be horses for courses with Philip Clement. And he knows the sort of surface we're going into. So I've got absolutely no qualms about tomorrow night.
And by the way, Martin, I'm not saying that we can't lose or we can't draw. Of course not. You know, that's football is what it is, and we have suffered defeats on that at Rugby Park. You know, so I'm not saying that it's not possible and we just need to turn up and everything will be fine. I just think, you know, this manager and this team now deserve a bit of credit from us, that, you know, that they've been picking up results on a regular basis to now put us at the top of the league. That, you know, let's go into this with confidence rather than a bit of trepidation because it's Kilmarnock at Rugby Park. You know, we should be able to take care of them. But, you know, going in with the right, as Will said, the right game plan, right team selection, the right attitude, all of those things will fill into it. If we do that, we will beat them. And you've got a manager who seems to be installing that, you know, that the players will go in with the right game plan and they will go in with the right attitude. So yeah, I'm with Wilf. You know, I'm confident that we can get the result.
Yeah, I want to come back to this conversation actually, because I want to bring up, you know, the previous record against Kilmarnock, and quite possibly the reason for my trepidation is the scars of the past in terms of, like, first game of the season we dropped points, and then I get with other managers, not with Phil, but with other managers, we've not had this good a start to January and February is what we've had this season. So maybe that's just in the back of my mind as well. But Beat Bot Boop has come in with a super chat, and he has asked, which Scottish Premiership manager do you think would win in a boxing tournament? I reckon Big Phil cleans house with Nazy and Dale close contenders. And what planet does Stephen Naismith get through the first round of a boxing tournament? Well,
Stephen Naismith is second out the door only because he's slower than Brendan Rodgers when the shit hits a fan.
So who wins it? I mean, who wins the boxing tournament then?
Oh, Big Phil, hands down. I mean, obviously you've got to say the Aberdeen man. You've got to say the Aberdeen manager's not involved in it because he's about 106 years old, so we wouldn't be fair to put him in it. Craig Levine's in the same. Craig Levine's in the same mould. Craig
Levine's got a wee bit of history. Craig Levine's got a wee bit of the history of the boxing on the football pitch, hasn't he? So,
but only if Graham Hogg's the other side of the ring.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, and the venue somewhere in darkest Eastern Europe, because I think that's where that happened, if I remember right. But now Levine's a bit old now. In his heyday, I'd have given him half a chance, but nice. He's too old now. I mean, he's older than you, man.
I think Clement wins it, but I think Levine would be up there. By the way, I think he could.
I was going to ask, who would be in the final? Would it be a Clement Levine final? Would it?
Potentially going through the can't mean what Stephen Robinson's not going to do much, is he? You know,
Martindale.
Don Martindale's not going to do much.
Don Kevin, no. By the way, is Martindale an outside shout for third place?
Well, that's true. Martindale could be. He could probably knows how to handle himself, but
height advantage. He's no one of dirty tricks.
Height advantage.
The height advantage is. I mean, is Clement the tallest manager in the league? Got to be, is he taller than Levine?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So we'll see. Are we just saying Clement because he's the Rangers manager, or does anybody want to stick their neck out and say Levine?
No, I'm not going to go against the Rangers manager. It's Clement all day, but I think Levine would be up there.
If Michael Beale was still the Rangers manager, who wins?
Stephen Robinson, probably.
Brendan Rodgers.
I mean, it's a thoughtful. We should have done a whole podcast on the manager's boxing. We should maybe contact the SFA because they'll do anything for money, won't they? Maybe see if we can get that started. Right, no, going back to the point then, Stuart, about my trepidation against Kilmarnock. Football's a fickle, funny game, and you have to look back in history. And for some reason, there's just certain grounds where bigger teams drop points against weird teams, and it happens all around the world. And it happens in England, and it happens in Argentina and Brazil and everywhere. But there just seems to be one club where you always struggle. And Rugby Park, whether it's we've had to get last-minute winners, whether it's been when Steve Clarke was in charge and we really struggled, I just think there's a trepidation there for Rangers supporters that maybe there was too much trepidation with Hearts because it was at home, and maybe we overestimated them, and maybe we actually forgot that their manager was Stephen Naismith. But I do think we have to go into this game tomorrow smarter, because I think Derek McInnes knows what he's doing. He's doing a very, very good job. And as a lot of people are saying in the comments, and maybe you can answer whether you agree or not, the pitch is a leveler when it comes to ability.
I'm not sure I totally agree with that. I still think if you're a better player, you've got a better touch, a better range of passing, then that should still come through regardless of what pitch. Like say, you could have said the pitch at St Johnstone could have been a leveler. Rangers were still by far the better team on that day. They were, Jack Butland didn't have anything to do. I just think we need to give. I agree. There's been Rangers teams in recent past that, yes, you probably had a bit of a wariness about, what would happen if they went a goal down. Do we crumble? And you can see that the opening game of the season was a prime example. There was worrying signs there. I just don't see that with this manager. This manager will have this team prepared. He will have them focused. The demands he's putting on them. Goldson talked about that, after the weekend's game. The demands that he's putting on them. His first answer to his press conference after beating the team that had won the most points since the start of December. You must be delighted with that. Well, yes, but actually, I would be far happier if we hadn't conceded as many shots on goal. And that's in the last 20 minutes. So he's always striving for more. So I just think, as fans, yeah, look, I don't think anybody's sitting here saying we're going to win 7-0 or anything like that. That'd be great. But, I've got a confidence in this manager. And to be fair, this team at the moment, that they'll go there with the right game plan, the right attitude, and get us the result.
Yeah, and I think that is quite fair. I think it's just what do people call it now? Because I'm getting old. Is it Rangers Da? Whatever they call it now.
We're in a title race, Martin. We're in a title race, and there are.
I always hated title races, Stuart. I hated them.
Of course, and it's going to get nervy at times, and unless suddenly we pull away and they totally implode. It is going to be nervy, and there probably will be some ups and downs, and we probably will at one point lose an opening goal. It's just about trying to have a bit of faith in what we've seen under this manager and what this team have delivered so far. Big 11 games, but I think they deserve a wee bit of leeway and a bit of credit in the bank that they can get this over the line.
Sorry, Will, when you come.
Sorry, I agree 100% with you. I'm just going to say what the phrase you were looking for was panty wetter.
Panty wetter, right? Aye. Well, I'm one of them. There you go. Cut that up and do what you want with that. Let's have a very, very quick discussion about this, Wolf. I don't want to labour the point on this because, there's no really even much point in me bringing it up because it's not going to change anything. Tomorrow night, I believe, is a full card of SPL action, top league action. And Sky Sports, in their wisdom, have decided, I believe, to show Livingston Motherwell when the options available to them are Kilmarnock Rangers and an Edinburgh Derby. Explain Sky's decision without using the words Sky don't give a fuck about Scottish football.
Sky don't give a fuck about Scottish football. No, I think I don't know. When they announced it at the time, I thought, that's mental. We're away at Kilmarnock. Why are they not showing that? And then it brought to my attention there's also an Edinburgh derby. There's only been, I think the last Edinburgh derby was live on the telly, and that was the first one in 6. Now that's the second biggest game in Scotland, and that'll be one in the last 7 being live on TV through the TV deal that the league's got, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now I know there's the clubs are utilising it for pay-per-view, so the clubs will make a few quid out, but they'll probably make more of it not being on Sky than the fact that it's on Sky, because Kilmarnock will have it. Kilmarnock got our game pay-per-view, so they will make a fortune off of that. I know Hearts will get their game pay-per-view, so they'll make a fortune off of that. So money they wouldn't make had the game been on Sky. So to me, it probably shows you how fragile the Sky deal really is. I know they've got to go to every game a certain amount of time, so whether they're running out of visits to Tynecastle, visits to rugby parks, and they had to go somewhere else, and the somewhere else was a ground that they still had scope to visit because of the ridiculous nature of the TV deal that they have to visit. I think it's every ground they have to visit 3 times or whatever, as part of the contract. But it doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, they could even remove one of the games to try, because right now at this moment in time they've got Ross County versus St Mirren. I mean, that's nuts. I mean, that's nuts. There's nothing to stop them putting Kilmarnock Rangers on tonight, for example, and having it live on the TV, moving it to the Tuesday. I mean, because we both played on Saturday, so we could quite easily have played tonight. I just don't understand the TV deal. And the sooner we get out of it,
surely you're saying that. Well, like you say, well, if they could have put us on tonight and then still showed the Livingston Motherwell game tomorrow, or even showed the Edinburgh Derby, they have options. And was it not last season? Did they not show less games than they were actually contracted?
Yes, they did. They were contracted, I believe, for 60 games, and they showed something like 48.
Yeah. So yeah. It's we've talked a lot, Stuart, and I know that you and Richie, when you've done your show, the Rabble Report, which I believe is coming back at some point, you probably spoke about this as well. It's people just seem to think because you're Rangers supporters, then you think, I don't care about the rest of the teams, I don't care about the league. When, it couldn't be further from the truth. In order to have a successful Rangers and us flying high in Europe, we need a successful league. We need a good TV deal. We need the rest of the teams contributing. We need the rest of the teams doing well in Europe. And we can sit here until we're blue in the face and talk about the deal. It's not going to change anything, but Sky are not helping Scottish football.
No, look, Sky are probably of the opinion that, there's FA Cup games on those Tuesday and Wednesday, so, we'll put some, let's just get, as Will says, let's just, we need to go to these grounds X number of times, so let's just get it out the way. But he's absolutely spot on. The real scandalous decision, if we park Rangers for a second, is the fact that, if Will is spot on with his stats there, 1 in 7 Edinburgh derbies shown on your main broadcaster for football in this country. Name another country in the world with the second biggest game in it 6 times out of the last 7 that hasn't been shown on telly. I can't fathom why they wouldn't have wanted to at least, even just put that up against, whatever FA Cup games on there, and just say, well, actually, let's see if we can maybe steal some viewers away there, because actually there's a derby game on telly. So look, we are where we are. We're stuck with this till 2029. We all know it was a scandal. The fact that it was, reorganised and a new contract given when actually we didn't need to do it. We still have terms, and the fact that it looks as if it wasn't put out to tender. These are the people who are organising and running our game. But are we really surprised when the guy at the top is earning £400,000 and has somehow managed to put a 2-year notice period into his contract, which is pretty much unheard of in a kind of CEO organisation? So nothing surprises me with them now, and they don't care. And I think, like say, if you park Rangers to aside, the fact that the Edinburgh Derby is not on again is mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing.
Sky have only bought it for the Old Firm games. That's the only reason that we've got a TV deal in this country, and it's
And they might do a wee bit of interest because actually, there could be a title race. That's what they've been pinning their hopes on, and they've now probably got one. So there might be a bit more interest towards the end, and probably saving up some games and utilising their full quota if it starts, getting right down to the nitty gritty. But yeah, look, we're a nice wee add-on for them. You get your shitty 12 p.m. on a Sunday kickoff, or the rubbish times on a Christmas Eve or a Boxing Day. That's because it's a time slot.
I believe I'm in total agreement with you, and it's just a sad indictment of unfortunately, where we are. Obviously, I'm not even going to go back the full way, but it might have been a bit of a shit decision to put Rangers all the way down the leagues. It might be the Scottish football still trying to recover for that, but who knows? Who knows? I'm not even going to bring that up. That's not going to be a discussion, Wolf. I could see you ready to pounce on that there. That will not be a discussion. A comment for Paul, actually. Obviously, I've read Phil, the manager's answers from the press conference, and he said that Roof won't be risked, which is smart. Obviously, Roof played for the B team today or yesterday. Yesterday, I believe. Yesterday. And he thought, and Paul thinks that Lawrence won't be risked, and obviously Cantwell is out. Well, I would imagine Lawrence won't be risked on that pitch, even though there's no science, by the way, to say that you pick up more injuries on an artificial surface. There isn't. But if Lawrence isn't risked, Cantwell's out, Roof won't play. Does that say to you it's Silva in the 10, Dessers starts up top?
It would if that was the case, but I think that Lawrence will play because he was taken off earlier on Saturday than I expected it would be taken off. And I think he was taken off when he was with tomorrow night in mind. So I think he will start. I've got a feeling it could be the same starting lineup tomorrow as it was on Saturday. I'd like to see Silva, as I said last night in the pod. I'd like to see Silva in the 10, as they call it. But I just think Lawrence will start. I mean, one of the reasons I think he'll start Lawrence is he likes a shot at goal and they're controlled shots at goal. And we've talked long and weary about the pitch and how it's not really conducive with playing the type of football we want to play. It's a sort of pitch though that to get results for me, you see it get a sight of goal, just hit it, because when it comes back off the keeper, it can go absolutely anywhere. So long shots and stuff like that could be very fortuitous tomorrow night, and Lawrence is the man for that job. So I think Lawrence will start tomorrow.
Well, what's your thoughts on it, Stuart? And the reason, by the way, just before you come in, Stuart, the reason I think there will be changes is that Clement was asked about his rotation policy. And basically what he said was, we want to play football with a lot of intensity, so it's important to rotate the squad. The players understand this now. I don't think there's any chance we go into that game tomorrow and it's the same 11.
No, I think there probably will be changes. I tend to agree. If Lawrence isn't, I think Lawrence will play, actually. I tend to agree there. And one of the reasons I think he might play is because Cantwell is injured. And I was a wee bit surprised on Saturday that Silva and Dessers were on the pitch at the same time, because we haven't really seen that. And I think one of the reasons we haven't seen that is because we are short in that striking position. So if you're starting both of them, then there's a greater risk that both of them could pick up a knock, and then you're really in trouble. So I was surprised that we seen it. I quite liked the look of it, by the way. I quite enjoyed Silva playing in that slightly deeper role. But I think it will still be Lawrence tomorrow. It will then be a toss of the coin whether he goes with Dessers or Silva up top. In my opinion, I think we might see McCausland come back in on the right hand side. Will he go? I think we might go a bit more defensive. Is he going to go as attacking as he has been in that midfield? So could you see a Lundstrom and Sterling, or a Lundstrom and Raskin with Lawrence in front? Does Sterling keep his position on the right hand side? Look, we've done enough pre-matches to know it's nigh on impossible to try and predict what Clement's doing. I think hopefully Lawrence now is past the injuries that he was getting were more niggles, was it like calves going and stuff like that? Whereas you've got players like Roof and Ryan Jack, for example, where potentially playing in that pitch it would cause them more damage given some of the injuries that they've had in the past. So I still think Lawrence will play. I think there will be scope for change, though. I'd be amazed if there isn't at least one or two changes from Saturday.
What's your thoughts, Wolf, on his rotation policy? I mean, obviously everything's going really good now. We're winning games. We've just thumped Hearts. And like the manager's explained it, he wants to play with high intensity. He wants to play fast attacking football. Therefore, you need to rotate, and the players understand that, right? But the rule used to be in football: if you're playing well, you stay in the team. That used to be the rule. And the main reason I asked that, and it leads into another question of who will start up top tomorrow. Obviously, Desser's scoring a double. He's in a really good run of form in terms of starting and scoring goals, albeit he maybe misses 2 or 3 chances that he shouldn't, but he's still scoring goals. That Silva comes off the bench, and even albeit from a different position, scores. So would you be happy either way with Dessers or Silva starting? Should Dessers keep his place because he is scoring goals when he is starting? Or does the fact that we've loaned a £35 million striker mean that you can't leave him out of the team for 2 games in a row?
No,
I know that's a lot of questions I've just fired at you, so I apologise.
Silva's price tag doesn't mean that he should get a God-given right to start the game. I think the squad rotations are an interesting one, but I think the players understand it. The manager obviously has explained it to the supporters. The supporters understand it, so the players seem to be happy with it. I mean, football's never a squad game. It's not just that's the 11 players that are starting, and if I need to change it up, I'll change it up. The players seem to be content in the knowledge that if they're on the bench, there's a good chance they'll get some game time, and they'll get a decent amount of game time. And they're okay with that. The manager's obviously been honest with that because he's told the support that the support are happy enough with it. There's no grumbles of he's making loads of substitutions again. And Philip Vermont utilises. He's a modern manager. He utilises the squad very well. It is a squad game now. It's not an 11, and we'll just replace players as and when we need to. The Dessers and Silva, I don't care who's up front as long as they're scoring goals. It would be nice to see the 2 of them start, but as Stuart said, because of the lack of bodies to replace them, if Roof was fitter and available, he might start the 2 because then at least he's got an option to change one of them up if needed. Could be similar with Lovelace. Lovelace might be on the bench tomorrow to get maybe 10 minutes towards the end if the game's going well. It just depends. But no, I think that the rotation thing's fine. The players seem to be happy enough with it. The manager seems to explain to them all. I mean, even when Dessers came off on Saturday, he's on a hat-trick and he walked off with a smile on his face when he got substituted. I mean, if that had been 5 months ago, you probably had to get somebody on to drag him off because he just wouldn't want to go off. But he understands what the manager's doing and how the manager's doing it, and it's working, so long may it continue.
I mean, that does just show where we are, Stuart, that you can bring a striker off. That's twice he's done it. He's brought Dessers off when he's been on a hat-trick. And Dessers just seems to have this attitude of, right, I've done my job, I'm happy. Has a wee combo with the manager, as every player does, unlike some managers who just ignore players who come off the pitch. Everybody, and I suppose it's the old adage, but everything's fine when you're winning.
Well, it is that, but would you be totally surprised whether or not the players are already semi-aware if the game is going to plan, this is what happens? Would you be surprised if you walked into the training centre and up on a board somewhere is, here's the team for Hearts, here's the team for Kilmarnock, here's the team for Motherwell? Yes, injuries might happen, it might change that, but that is the plan of attack. That is what we're going to be doing. I think he touched on talking about how happy he was the levels in training because he had the starting 11 playing against basically another 11, and he was really happy to see how the other 11 were really challenging that starting 11. I think training will be worked in that way. All these vests that they wear, all the data that they get, it'll be telling them exactly where a player is. what they're capable of. Yeah, so he can give you 65 minutes, but you might want to think if you keep him on longer than that, that might be draining a wee bit more out of him. He might need longer recovery. I think it'll be all done to such a minute level of detail that, I think players will be aware. So Dessers is probably on the understanding you're going to play 70, 75 minutes today. Then there'll be a change. Unless something happens in the game that I need to keep you on for the 90. So Paul mentioned it. We've now got options. We don't need to be just running guys into the ground anymore. Why would you? We've now got a period where there's going to be a real ramp up in the number of games that we're playing. We're going to need to utilise the squad, and the type of football the manager wants us to play means that you're going to have to try and keep these guys at a certain level so that they can deliver that high press, that intensity, the ability to move the ball quickly, etc., and get players going forward. So I think the manager seems to have that level of detail that I think the players will already know what's coming up in the next week.
I mean, in terms of team cohesion, then Stuart, I mean, there's unless obviously we go on a run of losing games, which I don't see happening. There's nothing that can really break that team spirit. And in fact, the manager actually touched on that in his press conference, and it might allude to actually what you're saying, Stuart. There's a lot of togetherness in the group now. The way they compete and are happy for others' success shows they are a proper team.
They're a squad, I thought you seen that in the League Cup final. The celebrations after it. Even the guys who weren't stripped or anything like that were all part of it. Look how Ridvan seems to be, the camera guy going on at the pitch after games. You see how the players are interacting. There is a feel-good factor about Rangers now. Feel-good factor within the players, management team. You go to Ibrox, there is a completely, Wilf will back that up, there is a completely different atmosphere from what it was 5 months ago, where there was a nervousness. Things like, it's 0-0, 40-odd minutes against Livingston at home. Under Michael Beale, Ibrox is about to go nuts. There was a calmness about Ibrox that night because we knew, we're doing the right things, it's coming. So what a job he's done to change that in such a short period of time. Is man management, simple things like when a player comes off, having a wee chat with them, that hug, all of those wee things lead into that, giving them a day off to go and they might have went and get pissed. I don't know what they did when he gave them all of that thing is building that unity and that spirit, which we're now seeing in the performances and the results.
It's actually, and we'll finish up on this point, but it's actually an unbelievable, like Stuart says, it's an unbelievable job that Phil Clement has done. Not just the fact, by the way, right, that we're now ahead in the title race. And look, that could change tomorrow if we got, for example, we get beat, they win, they go ahead of us. I still don't think we panic if that happens. I genuinely don't think we panic if that happens, right? But that aside, what a job he has done with regards to not just the players, but the fans. Rangers feels like a community again.
Yeah, because he's been honest with us. I mean, he's come out and everything he said he's going to do, he's done. I mean, he came in and he said one of the things that attracted the Rangers was the supporters. So that's a tick in the box straight away. We're one of the reasons that he's here, because he likes a club that's got a synergy with the supporters. He didn't get that at Monaco because Monaco's got a very small supporter base because it's not a very big place. He had it when he was in Belgium at Bruges and at Ghent, and he wanted it again, and he's got it again. I mean, even little things that he does and says, like a flippant remark at the end of the press conference on Saturday after the game, when he said the players will get a day off tomorrow. That's unusual, but they deserve it. I mean, that to me is brilliant, because nobody's saying, well, I wonder if the players are in and about the place. He's telling us, look, they deserve a day off. If he's saying they deserve a day off, they deserve a day off. You know what I mean? He's telling the supporters what's happening. He's coming out and saying, look, Kemar Roof's back in the squad. Kemar Roof won't play more than 10 minutes because that's all he's got. He's come out today and said Roof won't feature. We're not trying to second guess him. He's coming out. He's telling us who's he's not telling us the game plan or the starting lineup, but he's giving the fans information that fans want to know about. You know, he's not contradicting himself. He's doing what he says, and he doesn't speak nonsense. He's a proper football manager. That and the fans love it. Like Stuart says, if it's not going well tomorrow, the Rangers support aren't going to start getting on the team's back because we know we're doing the right thing. Look at the Ross County game. Everybody's desperate for to score 3 goals to go top of the league. Mm-hmm. We scored 3, but we conceded the ones we didn't quite go top in goal difference. Everybody's still came out. They're absolutely buzzing. Great, that's it. It's coming. It's coming. We're now 2 points clear at the top and something like 6 or 7 goals better off because we're doing the right thing and it's a gradual process and it's coming in. We're going in the right direction. If the bump in the road comes tomorrow or it comes on Saturday, yeah, as you said at the start, yeah, we'll all be pissed off, but we'll get over it because we know that the manager's doing the right thing and we know he'll get us out of it because everybody's got faith in the manager. Ibrox is a much, much happier place to be these days than it was, as Stuart says, 5 months ago.
Massively, and it just goes to show what a job Clement has done. And I hope he's still here in 20 years, like Sir Alex Ferguson. But there we go, and we'll wait and see. Looking at Mel, we're looking forward to the Rangers Youth semi-final game on Friday up at Alton Heavy. Rangers under-18s are taking on Dundee United under-18s for a place in the Scottish Youth Cup final. Yeah, I'm stuck on that one. If I'm being brutally honest with you, I don't know. I hope it's a very.
I know what you want, Martin. You want Rangers to win 3-2 and your brother to score 2 goals and have a great game. Yeah,
but I also want my brother to make it to a final, Wolf. So
I get that.
You know,
I get that, but not.
I hope the team. Right, and this is the first and only time I'm ever in my life going to say this. When it's a game that involves Rangers on Friday, I hope the team that plays best wins. That's about as far as I'll go with that.
Very diplomatic of you, Martin.
It's family. It's family. But yeah, thank you, gents. I know I says to you, half an hour, but these things really work out like that, do they? It was just a random Tuesday, and I thought let's do a wee podcast. Let's do something, shall we? Let's get some content out there, and we did. So thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you to Beat Bot Boot for the super chat. The support that you give this show is unparalleled. We're one of the fastest growing Rangers YouTube channels on YouTube. That's that, you know what I mean. So thank you very much for the support. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel as we what's a word for moving quickly? Give me a word, Stuart. You're smart.
Accelerate.
As we accelerate, thank you all. As we accelerate towards 10,000 subscribers, which would be a fantastic achievement. And of course, if you haven't already, give the show a like on YouTube. The more likes it gets, the more it gets spread along that algorithm. And follow us on Facebook and Twitter and give us likes and shares on that. The links for all are in the description. And we're back tomorrow night as Stuart is on. I can't remember who he's on with. Can you remember who you're on with tomorrow, Stuart?
Yeah, I think Ian, me. No, I can't. 4 of us. There are 4 of us. Well, there'll be 4 of us on the pre-match and then 4 on the post-match.
Obviously, clearly only Ian and Stuart matter. That's how we can't remember.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so thank you for tuning in and we'll see you all tomorrow.